last term that's cubed and multiplies them. So we had an x and a y that are cubed, so the middle term would be them put together, so it'd be an xy. And the last piece is to square that last part, which is the y, so that'll become y squared. And the bottom, there's nothing we can do with that. That was just an x minus y, but notice that becomes a common factor between the top and the bottom now, because we have an x minus y on the top and an x minus y on the bottom, so that can be canceled out as a common identical factor between the top and the bottom, which leaves us with just the trinomial that was on top. So we get x squared plus xy plus y squared. Again, as a quick reminder, the signs for factoring the difference or sum of cubes is SOAP, which is same, opposite, always, positive. So for this next one, I'm starting to run out of room, but I'm going to do it down here. Notice again, the idea is we cannot cancel anything because nothing is identical, yet we have to factor first. So we would factor out the numerator first, which is AC method, or guess and check, in which case you're looking for what two factors of negative 14, that add up to negative 5. Well, what two factors of negative 14 add up to negative 5? Well, that's negative 7 and positive 2. So that means when all is said and done, everything on top will factor out as an x minus 7 and an x plus 2. We still have to work out the denominator, though, and it is again another AC method. So how that one's going to be factored is the same way. So we're going to still look for two factors of negative 2 that add up to, notice it's a hidden factor of 1 in the middle. So what two factors of negative 2 add up to positive 1? Well, that's a positive 2 and a negative 1. Notice we again end up with a common factor on the top and the bottom of x plus 2 that can be canceled out from both the top and the bottom, which leaves us with our final answer of x minus 7 on top and x minus 1 on the bottom. Notice we cannot cancel these out. This is your final answer because these two are not identical, so you must leave your answer like this. On I, notice the x plus 2 and x minus 2 are not identical. They cannot be canceled. But the 8 minus x and x minus 8 are close, they're just in the wrong order. So we need to reorder one of the two. It's easiest to reorder the one that has the x coming second because we like the x to come first. So let's reorder just that piece. If we reorder it with the x coming first, then we have to make sure that the x stays negative and the 8 stays positive. Anything else will stay the same. Now, notice that the term that we just reordered has a negative out in front. Remember, if we have a negative out in front, we want to factor out a negative or a negative 1, which will switch all the signs, which means the x will become positive and the 8 will become negative, which again is not a coincidence. Now it matches up with the term below it, the x minus 8 that was on the denominator. So now they are identical, the two matching x minus 8s, so we can cancel those out between the top and the bottom. This leaves us with our final result of negative 1 times x plus 2 over x minus 2. Now, if you really wanted to, you could distribute that negative 1 that's out in front. Either way, if you want to leave your answer factored, that is fine too. But notice, even if you distribute the negative 1, it becomes negative x minus 2. So still, the numerator and denominator are still not identical, so they cannot be canceled out, and you are actually done with this problem. You cannot go any further.